Welcome to my channel. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe and like. Lira clutched Tiny, her furry companion, as if her embrace were the last refuge against the roaring red sandstorm. Her blue skin, once shimmering like water under Lyssaran's sun, was now ashen, the silver flecks that sparkled like stars reduced to faint, flickering glimmers, nearly extinguished. Wind screamed through the cracks of the shattered ship, carrying scorching sand that clawed at her thin suit, leaving stinging welts on her skin. She pressed Tiny to her chest, feeling its tiny heartbeat race, blending with her own panicked pulse. "Don't be afraid, Tiny," she whispered, voice hoarse, as if her words could banish the darkness choking them both. The creature, with glossy purple fur and round black eyes like polished gems, burrowed into her neck. Its 6 short legs trembled, clinging to her, seeking warmth in the deadly desert. Tiny, a mix of rabbit and fox, didn't belong here. It belonged to Lyssaran's floating gardens, where light was soft and air was cool. Here it was small, fragile, like Lira's heart at this moment. Around them, the wreckage of the exploration ship lay scattered across endless red sand. Twisted metal fragments, once her hope, were now the corpses of a shattered dream. The control screen, once blazing with geological data, was black, scorched. The emergency beacon, her last thread to life, had died in the crash, its circuits smoking before falling silent forever. The human settlement, according to the last map she saw, was hundreds of miles away, as distant as a star beyond reach. No one knew Lira was here. No one would search. She, a Lyssaran geologist, never wanted to set foot on Red Veil. This mission was just a simple mineral survey, a small step in her cosmic journey. But the ship's reactor, an outdated design she'd warned about, exploded. A screech, then darkness. The ship tore through a spatial rift, flames erupting around the hull, and Lira barely activated the emergency protocol before everything shattered. Now, in the ruined cockpit, she held Tiny, facing death. She looked up through a gash in the ship's ceiling. 2 red suns hung amid dust clouds, their hazy light spilling over endless dunes. Beautiful, but cruel. Like the universe whispering she didn't belong. "It's just us," she said, stroking Tiny's fur, feeling its softness under her fingers. It chirped, a faint sound full of trust, as if Tiny believed she'd find a way out. Lira's deep blue eyes, once bright with a thirst for discovery, dulled under the heat and despair. Sand poured through the gash, piling around her legs, as if the desert meant to swallow her. Each breath was a battle, the heat crushing her chest, draining her life. Lira remembered Lyssaran. Lakes glittering under green sunlight. Floating cities where she grew up, dreaming of stars. She remembered Tiny, a baby then, curled in her lap by the lake, listening as she spoke of distant worlds. She'd promised herself, they'd soar through the cosmos together, finding a place to call home. But she'd failed. Tiny didn't deserve to die here. She'd brought it along, ignoring warnings that it was too frail for such journeys. It was her light, her family amid lonely days among the stars. Now, she brought only darkness. Tears rolled down her cheeks, glinting like the last silver flecks on her skin. "I'm sorry," she whispered, voice breaking. Tiny looked up, black eyes meeting hers, as if saying it held no blame. She sang, voice trembling. A Lyssaran lullaby, the song her mother sang when she was small. Its gentle melody told of travelers crossing darkness to find light. She sang to soothe Tiny, to cling to a shred of hope. Her voice mingled with the wind, echoing through the dead desert. Sand covered her knees, as if Red Veil's hands pulled her down. Heat seared her skin, consciousness fading. She thought of her mother, of evenings by the lake, of her promise to return. She thought of Tiny, the small creature that chose her as family. Her heart ached, not for death, but for betraying Tiny's trust. Then the ground shook. A heavy thud, not the wind. Lira opened her eyes, gasping. The vibration grew, like a giant's footsteps. She thought it was a hallucination, the heat twisting her mind. But it was real. She lifted her head, peering through the blinding sand. A figure emerged, hazy in the storm, moving steadily through the red dunes. Lira held Tiny tighter, heart pounding. Someone was coming. Savior or threat? She didn't know. But in her breaking heart, a spark of hope flickered, small but fierce. The figure sharpened. A two-legged form, clad in glossy black armor that reflected the suns like a mirror. A helmet hid their face, cold yet powerful. The stranger stopped a few steps away. The wind howled, but they only stared, Lira, blue and clutching Tiny, and the mysterious figure. Then, slowly, they knelt. Gloved hands reached out. Lira flinched, too weak to flee. But the stranger lifted her and Tiny gently, pressing them to the warm, armored chest. "Who are you?" she asked, voice lost in tears. The stranger tilted their helmet. A deep male voice answered, in a strange tongue, but its tone was comforting, certain. They strode through the desert, sand swirling. Lira glimpsed a structure in the distance, perhaps an outpost. But a roar rose from the sand. A massive creature, red-scaled, eyes like burning coals, surged upward. The stranger set Lira in a rocky crevice, drawing an energy rifle. "Stay!" he shouted. Blue light flashed, the beast dove back into the sand. The stranger pulled her up, running. The outpost's door loomed. They dove inside, the door slamming shut. Lira gasped, clutching Tiny, and fainted in the strong arms of her rescuer. Lira thought it was a mirage. The searing heat, gnawing hunger, and red sand buried her senses. But the ground trembled, not from the wind's wail. A heavy thud, then another, like a giant's stride. She held Tiny tighter, her weak heart racing. With her last strength, she raised her head. Through the blinding sand, a figure appeared, hazy but resolute, crossing the desert as if the storm held no fear. Lira held her breath. Was it real? Or just a final dream before death claimed her? The figure grew clearer. A tall, two-legged form, clad in sleek black combat armor, reflecting the red suns like shattered glass. The stranger halted before her, imposing amid the swirling sand. Their helmet hid their face, reflecting only Lyra's frightened blue eyes, weary and fading. Tiny chirped, burrowing into her chest, its 6 tiny legs trembling. Lira stared at the stranger, heart pounding. Predator or savior? She couldn't tell. But in that moment, amid the deadly storm, they only looked at each other, Lira, a blue Lyssaran cradling a strange creature, and the black-armored stranger, enigmatic as the dark. Then, wordlessly, the stranger knelt. Gloved hands reached out, slow, as if fearing to startle her. Lira shrank back, instinct urging flight. But she was too weak, her legs heavy as lead, her breath shallow. Tiny lifted its head, black eyes gleaming, as if sensing something. The stranger lifted them both, gently, pressing them to the hard, warm armor. Heat from the metal spread, easing the burning cold. Lira froze. This gentleness didn't belong to Red Veil's desert. "Who are you?" she whispered, voice raw, lost in the wind. The stranger tilted their helmet. A deep male voice spoke, in a foreign tongue. She didn't understand, but the tone was clear, comforting, certain, a promise in the dark. They marched through the desert, sand scattering under the stranger's steps. Lira, cradled in armored arms, felt the steady, powerful rhythm of their stride. Peering through a slit in the armor, she saw rolling dunes, red as blood. In the distance, a metal structure shimmered, faint in the storm. An outpost? A refuge? Hope, small but fierce, sparked in her heart. Tiny chirped, nuzzling her neck, as if sensing light at the tunnel's end. Lira stroked its fur, tears falling silently. "We'll live," she whispered, unsure if she spoke to Tiny or herself. But the ground shook again. A terrifying roar tore through the storm. Lira flinched, heart racing. The stranger stopped, armor clanking. From the sand, a massive creature rose, scales red as smoldering coals, eyes blazing like furnaces. Serpentine, enormous, its jagged teeth gleamed. Lira stopped breathing, clutching Tiny. The stranger moved fast. He set her in a rocky crevice, soft sand cushioning her. "Stay!" he shouted, voice sharp though she didn't understand. An energy rifle appeared in his hands, blue light flashing, ripping through the sand. But the monster dove down, sand exploding, vanishing before the shot landed. Lira curled in the crevice, Tiny trembling in her arms. The roar echoed closer. She watched the stranger, his form steady in the storm. He swept his rifle, helmet's visor glowing, searching. The sand quaked. The monster surged behind him, tail lashing. Lira screamed, but the stranger spun, firing rapidly. Blue light lit the desert, the beast roared, diving again. The stranger ran back, pulling Lira to her feet. "Run!" he ordered, voice urgent. She stumbled, legs weak, but his grip was firm, dragging her through dunes. Tiny clung to her chest, chirping in panic. Sand coated her face, stinging her eyes. The outpost emerged, its metal door glinting faintly. The stranger slammed his hand on a panel, the door screeching open. They dove inside, sand pouring in. The door slammed shut, muffling the roar. Lira gasped, collapsing on the cold floor. Tiny nuzzled her, safe but frightened. The stranger stood, armor gleaming under dim lights. He removed his helmet, revealing short brown hair, damp with sweat. Lira stared, heart racing. His face was hairless, save for sharp brows and faint stubble. His pale beige skin contrasted her shimmering blue. But his brown eyes, warm and curious, stunned her. "You okay?" he asked, voice deep in a strange tongue. Lira didn't understand, but nodded, holding Tiny tighter. "Thank you," she whispered in Lyssaran, voice breaking. He tilted his head, tapping a wrist device. A robotic voice tried translating, cycling through languages, none hers. He frowned, then raised a hand in a universal peace gesture. Lira smiled weakly, her heart easing. He set a small device on a table. "Sam," he said, pointing to himself. Lira understood. "Lira," she replied, pointing to herself. He grinned, a warm smile like those of her people. Tiny looked up, chirping at Sam. "Tiny," Lira said, smiling faintly. "Bad name, I know." Sam laughed, a sound that banished the dark. But a roar echoed outside. Sam sprang up, rushing to a console. A screen lit up, showing the red-scaled monster digging around the outpost. Lira clutched Tiny, heart pounding. Sam turned, eyes tense. "Danger," he said, mimicking a biting gesture. She nodded, understanding. Then the screen flashed, a message in strange symbols. Sam frowned, typing fast. "Patrol team," he gestured, pointing outside. "They're coming." Lira didn't grasp it all, but Sam's worried eyes chilled her. If the patrol found her, an alien, what would happen? She looked at Sam, fragile hope now tinged with fear. Warmth was the first thing Lira felt as consciousness returned. A gentle warmth, unlike Red Veil's scorching heat, like Lyssaran's light caressing her skin. She opened her eyes, heart easing as she saw Tiny curled beside her, purple fur rising with steady breaths. The small creature, with gem-like black eyes, was a reminder they'd survived. Lira lay on a simple mat, not luxurious, but softer than the red sand she thought would be her grave. A thermal blanket draped her slender frame, its unfamiliar fabric warm, like someone's embrace. She turned her head, deep blue eyes scanning the space. A metal ceiling gleamed faintly under pale yellow lights. Walls were lined with equipment, screens, buttons, tools she didn't recognize, but they exuded precision, order, like a human emergency outpost. Some comm devices and survival gear reminded her of Lyssaran ships, but all bore the mark of an alien species she'd never met. A small movement caught her eye. Her rescuer stood at the far corner, before a glowing console. He removed his helmet, revealing short brown hair, slightly mussed with sweat. Tall, broad-shouldered, he resembled no species she knew. Lira held her breath, heart quickening. As if sensing her gaze, he turned. His face appeared, hairless except for sharp brows and faint stubble on his chin. His pale beige skin contrasted her shimmering blue. But his eyes, warm brown, deep, curious, stirred her heart. Something in them, not pity, but understanding, as if he'd faced darkness and survived. "You're awake," he said, voice resonant, though meaningless to her. Lira sat up slowly, wincing as her aching body protested. Tiny stirred, blinking tiny black eyes, stretching 6 short legs and yawning, revealing a pink tongue and small white teeth. She stroked its fur, gratitude welling. They were alive, thanks to this stranger. "Thank you," she said in Lyssaran, voice raw but sincere, knowing he wouldn't understand. He tilted his head, tapping a wrist device. A robotic voice tried translating, cycling through languages, none hers. Seeing her confusion, he frowned, then stepped closer, slowly, raising a hand in a universal peace gesture. Lira tensed, clutching Tiny, but stayed put. He set a small device on the table between them. "Sam," he said clearly, pointing to himself, a faint smile forming. Lira understood. "Lira," she replied, pointing to herself, voice trembling. His smile widened, warm, so like her people's it startled her. He looked at Tiny, the creature curiously nuzzling the blanket's edge. "Tiny," Lira said, smiling weakly. "Bad name, I know." Sam laughed, a deep sound that bridged their species. Tiny chirped, looking at Sam, as if approving. Lyra's heart lightened, like light piercing the dark. But joy faded as an alarm blared, shattering the quiet. Sam leapt up, eyes sharp, rushing to the console. A screen lit up, showing the red-scaled monster digging around the outpost, sand flying under its claws. Lira clutched Tiny, heart racing. "Danger!" Sam said, pointing to the screen, mimicking a biting gesture. She nodded, fear surging. Tiny burrowed into her, trembling. Sam typed rapidly, eyes tense. Then the screen flashed, a message in strange symbols. He frowned, turning to her. "Patrol team," he gestured, pointing to himself, then outside. "They're checking a strange signal." Lira didn't fully understand, but Sam's worried eyes chilled her. If the patrol found her, an alien, what would happen? She looked at Tiny, then Sam, heart heavy. He'd saved her, but now he risked everything for her. Sam stepped to a shelf, grabbing a water flask and a ration bar, setting them before her. "Eat," he gestured, pointing to his mouth. Lira nodded, hands shaking as she opened the flask. Cool water soothed her parched throat, restoring a flicker of strength. She broke the ration bar, sharing it with Tiny, watching it nibble, black eyes gleaming. Sam watched, eyes gentle. "You okay?" he asked again, voice deep, as if to be sure. Lira smiled weakly, nodding. She wanted to say more, to tell of Lyssaran, the sandstorm, the fear choking her. But language was a wall. She pointed to him, then gestured thanks, hand on her heart. Sam understood, his smile returning, though his eyes stayed worried. The roar outside grew closer. The screen flickered, the monster digging deeper, claws scraping metal. Sam ran to the door, checking the lock, then back to the console. "We're safe for now," he gestured, but his voice was tense. Lira watched him, realizing he wasn't just worried about the monster. The patrol was coming. She recalled tales of humans, curious, but suspicious, sometimes cruel to the unknown. Sam had saved her, but what of the others? She held Tiny, unease growing. "Sam," she whispered, voice trembling. He turned, their eyes meeting. In that moment, she saw not just worry, but resolve. He would protect her. But at what cost? Lira didn't know, but her heart, though afraid, began to trust this stranger. Lira sat beside Sam, her deep blue eyes tracing the rough sketches he scrawled on a tablet. His gestures, strokes, and steady gaze helped her understand. Red Vale, a desert planet on the edge of Sector 12, was where humans hunted rare minerals. Sam, an engineer and scout, had spotted her ship's explosion while on patrol. "No contact," he signed, pointing to himself, shaking his head. Human regulations forbade interaction with aliens. Yet he'd broken the rules, saved her. Lira stared, her heart stirring. He risked everything for her, a blue-skinned stranger from Lyssaran. Tiny, curled in her lap, chirped, as if sensing her gratitude. The small outpost, with metal walls and tidy equipment, was an emergency base. But it couldn't withstand the red-scaled monster outside or the approaching patrol. Sam pointed to a map on the screen, a larger facility 10 miles away. We must go, he signed, eyes resolute. Lira nodded, clutching Tiny tighter. But before they could prepare, the ground quaked. Harder, fiercer. A screech of metal echoed, the outpost walls cracking, red sand pouring in. Lira screamed, Tiny trembling in her arms. Sam yanked them to a corner, energy rifle glowing in his hands. Stay! He ordered, voice sharp, sprinting to a side door. A roar outside tore the air. Lira held Tiny, heart pounding, hearing blasts and the monster's shrieks. Each sound was a blade in her chest. She thought of Sam, the stranger who gave her hope. What if he didn't return? Tiny nuzzled her chest, black eyes gleaming, urging her to be strong. Lira stroked its fur, whispering, We'll be okay. But a louder explosion shook the outpost. The side door burst open, Sam stumbling in, blood seeping from a gash on his shoulder. It's not alone, he gasped, pointing to the screen. 3 red-scaled monsters, eyes like burning coals, surrounded the outpost, claws ripping metal. Lira trembled, but her geologist instincts surged. She rushed to the console, pointing to a geological map, circling an area. Caves, she said, signing underground tunnels. Sam's eyes lit up. Smart, he signed, typing fast. A seismic scan revealed a network of caves below. Escape route, he said, grabbing her hand. Lira felt strength in his grip, but saw fear in his eyes. They weren't just fleeing monsters. The patrol was closing in. They ran through a dark corridor, Tiny clinging to Lira's shoulder, chirping anxiously. Roars and shattering metal chased them. Sam led, rifle ready, his armor's light cutting the dark. A service hatch appeared. Sam slammed the panel. The door hissed open. Hot air blasted their faces, red sand spilling in. Lira flinched, but Sam pulled her into the darkness. Tiny nuzzled her neck, as if promising safety. But Lira knew this darkness held more than caves. A greater secret waited. The caves stretched deep, red stone walls glinting with strange minerals. Lira, with her geological knowledge, recognized they matched no known compounds. Energy, she whispered, touching a faintly humming crystal. Sam nodded, but his eyes stayed wary, scanning with the device. Monsters could be here, he signed, pointing to claw marks on the stone. Lira clutched Tiny, heart racing. They moved slowly, footsteps echoing. A distant hiss froze her. Sam raised a hand, signing silence. Tiny trembled, black eyes wide. Lira stroked its fur, heart heavy. They were fleeing, but to where? Suddenly, the ground shook. A smaller red-scaled monster, scales glowing, lunged from the dark. Sam shoved Lira behind a boulder, firing his rifle. Blue light lit the cave, but the beast dodged, its tail lashing, knocking the gun from his hands. Lira screamed, Tiny chirping in panic. Without hesitation, she grabbed a sharp crystal from the ground, hurling it. It struck the monster's eye, blood spurting. The beast roared, retreating, claws flailing. Sam leapt, dagger plunging into a scale gap. The creature collapsed, blood pooling. Sam panted, turning to her. You're good, he said, a tired smile forming. Lira smiled, heart still racing. A voice crackled from Sam's wrist device. Reynolds, report position! Cold, suspicious. The patrol. Sam looked at Lira, eyes conflicted. They can't find you, he whispered, shutting off the comm. Lira touched his hand, signing thanks. He nodded, gripping her hand, leading on. The cave opened into a vast chamber, an ancient machine at its center, surrounded by glowing energy crystals. Lira froze, awed. Old tech, she whispered, recognizing carvings like those of an extinct civilization. But light flashed from the entrance. The patrol had arrived. Lira clutched Tiny, looking at Sam. Fragile hope mixed with fear. They'd escaped the monsters, but a new enemy closed in. The cave system was a dark labyrinth, red stone walls shimmering with strange minerals, glowing faintly under Sam's armor light. Lira stepped carefully, her deep blue eyes scanning crystals jutting from the rock, each humming faintly as if alive. As a Lyssaran geologist, she'd studied countless minerals, but these were alien, defying all catalogs. Power source, she whispered, touching one. It vibrated, a whisper from the earth. Tiny, perched on her shoulder, chirped nervously, black eyes wide. Lira stroked its fur, hard heavy. They were fleeing, but this darkness wasn't safe. Sam moved ahead, eyes alert, scanner blinking in his hand. Monsters might be here, he signed, pointing to deep claw marks on the stone, like nightmares carved in rock. Lira nodded, clutching Tiny tighter. Each step echoed, each distant hiss startled her. Sam glanced back, brown eyes gentle but firm. Close now, he signed, pointing forward. Lira smiled weakly, gratitude swelling. He didn't just save her, he guided her through the dark, despite the danger. A roar echoed, shattering the silence. The ground quaked. Sam shoved Lira behind a large boulder, his armor clanking. Tiny chirped in panic, clinging to her. A red-scaled monster emerged, smaller than before but lightning fast, eyes blazing like coals. It charged, teeth gleaming. Sam fired his rifle, blue light flooding the cave, but the beast dodged, its tail lashing, knocking the gun away. Lira screamed, heart pounding. Sam stepped back, unarmed, eyes sharp. The monster growled, ready to strike. Lira acted. She snatched a jagged crystal from the ground, hurling it. It hit the beast's eye, blood spraying. The creature roared in pain, retreating, claws slashing wildly. Sam leapt onto its back, dagger flashing, plunging into a scale gap. The beast thrashed, then collapsed, breath fading. Sam panted, blood dripping from his hand. He turned, meeting Lyra's eyes, a weary smile forming. You're good, he said, voice rough. Lira smiled, heart stirring. They were a team in this deadly dark. But joy faded as Sam's wrist device buzzed. Reynolds, report position now! We've detected an alien! Cold, suspicious, from the patrol. Lira clutched Tiny, fear surging. Sam looked at her, eyes conflicted. They can't find you, he whispered, killing the calm. Lira touched his hand, signing thanks, tears falling silently. He nodded, gripping her hand, leading on. Tiny nuzzled her neck, as if saying they'd make it. They ventured deeper, the cave opening into a massive natural chamber. At its center stood an ancient machine, surrounded by radiant energy crystals. Lira froze, stepping forward, touching the cold metal surface. Old tech, she whispered, recognizing carvings like those from an extinct civilization she'd studied in Lyssaran's archives. What is it? She signed, looking at Sam. He shook his head, eyes curious yet wary. Danger, he signed, pointing to the crystals humming louder. Lira knelt, examining the carvings. Some symbols suggested a power source, but its purpose was vague. She thought of Lyssaran, of ancient tales about machines opening paths to the stars. But why here, under Red Veil's desert? Tiny chirped, nuzzling her leg, as if warning. Lira glanced at Sam, seeing him scan with his device, eyes tense. Something's wrong, he signed, pointing to a strange signal on the screen, not from monsters. Then light flashed from the entrance. Metal footsteps echoed. Lira flinched, clutching Tiny, retreating behind the machine. Sam drew his dagger, standing protectively. 5 figures emerged, armored like Sam, rifles aimed. Reynolds, stand down! A cold female voice ordered. The leader, armor gleaming, stepped forward. Step away from that creature. Lira trembled, Tiny burrowing into her. Sam raised a hand, eyes sharp. She's no threat, Lieutenant Carter, he said, voice steady. She's a shipwreck survivor. Carter scoffed, eyes shifting to the machine. Greed flickered. And this? A weapon? Lira sensed danger, signing to Sam, shaking her head, pointing to the machine. Danger, she whispered. Sam nodded, pleading. We don't know what it is. We need to study it. But Carter ignored him, ordering her team forward. A soldier touched the machine's panel. Crystals blazed, a mechanical roar echoing. The ground shook. Lira screamed, clutching Tiny. Sam pulled her back, eyes wide with horror. The machine awoke, crystals blinding. An energy surge erupted, opening a spatial portal in the chamber. From it, shadowy forms emerged, not monsters, but something larger, metal glinting. Carter spun, rifle on Sam. "You brought this here, Reynolds!" she yelled. Lira trembled, watching Sam stand firm, shielding her. But the portal widened, and a roar from beyond echoed, a warning from a forgotten world. Lira held Tiny, heart pounding. They'd uncovered a secret beneath the earth, but it might kill them all. Light flared from the cave's entrance, illuminating the red stone chamber. 5 figures entered, combat armor like Sam's, energy rifles trained forward. Lira clutched Tiny tighter, heart racing. Tiny chirped, burrowing into her chest, 6 legs trembling. "Reynolds, stand down!" The leader, a woman with a voice cold as stone, commanded. Her armor gleamed, helmet hiding her face. "Step away from that creature." Sam raised a hand, standing protectively, brown eyes steady. "She's no threat, Lieutenant Carter. She's a shipwreck survivor." His voice was sharp but calm, trying to keep peace. Carter scoffed, stepping closer. "Regulations are clear, Reynolds. Aliens are to be isolated. Interrogated." Lira didn't understand fully, but Carter's tone cut like a blade, making her tremble. Tiny nuzzled her, black eyes gleaming, urging strength. Lira looked at Sam, gratitude swelling. He'd saved her, defying rules. But Carter's gaze shifted to the ancient machine, its energy crystals blazing. Greed flickered. "And this? A weapon?" she asked, voice thick with suspicion. Lira sensed danger, signing to Sam, pointing to the machine, shaking her head. "Danger," she whispered, voice trembling. Sam nodded, facing Carter. "We don't know what it is. We need to study it first. Don't rush." Carter ignored him, ordering her team forward. "Check it." A soldier stepped up, touching the machine's panel. Lira screamed, but it was too late. Crystals flared, a mechanical roar echoing, shaking the cave. The ground cracked. The machine awoke, unleashing a green energy surge. A spatial portal opened in the chamber, blinding light swallowing the dark. From it poured creatures, like the red-scaled monsters, but larger, natural metal armor glinting, eyes like furnaces. Lira clutched Tiny, heart pounding. "What have you done, Carter?" Sam yelled, pulling Lira toward the exit. Chaos erupted. The patrol fired wildly, blue light tearing the air. But the creatures were too strong. One crushed 2 soldiers, blood soaking the stone. Lira screamed, Tiny chirping in panic. Sam drew his rifle, firing rapidly, holding a beast back. But Carter spun, rifle on him. "You brought this here, Reynolds! You betrayed humanity!" Her voice dripped with hatred. Lira saw a flash. Without thinking, she shoved Sam aside. An energy bolt grazed her shoulder, leaving a searing burn. She fell, Tiny tumbling, chirping pitifully. Sam fired back, a single shot. Carter collapsed, blood pooling on her armor. But the portal widened, more creatures pouring in. "We have to shut it!" Lira yelled, scrambling to the panel, Tiny clinging to her shoulder. Rocks fell, the cave quaking. Sam fought, dagger flashing, slicing a beast-scale gap. "Lira, hurry!" he shouted, blood seeping from old wounds. Lira knelt before the machine, blue eyes scanning ancient carvings. She recalled Lyssaran's lessons, texts of an extinct civilization. Her fingers trembled, inputting a sequence. Crystals dimmed, but a monster charged. Sam leapt, dragging it back, dagger plunging deep. "Keep going!" he yelled, voice raw. Lira bit her lip, focusing. Tiny chirped, nuzzling her cheek, lending strength. One final symbol. She slammed it. The machine screeched, crystals fading. The portal shrank, the last creature vanishing. But the cave collapsed. Rocks fell like rain, red dust choking the air. Sam lunged, grabbing Lira's hand. "Run!" he yelled, pulling her through the exit. Tiny clung to her shoulder, black eyes wide. They ran, rocks striking Sam's armor, sand coating Lira's face. A massive boulder crashed, blocking the path. Sam shoved Lira through a narrow gap, yelling, "Go!" She pulled back, grabbing him. "Together!" she signed, voice breaking. They burst outside, red veils, red light greeting them. The cave collapsed, burying the machine, the patrol, and the ancient secret. Lira fell to the sand, gasping, clutching Tiny. Sam knelt beside her, blood staining his armor, but his eyes were gentle. "You okay?" he asked, signing. Lira nodded, tears streaming. "Thank you," she whispered, touching his hand. Tiny chirped, nuzzling them both, as if celebrating survival. But in the distance, engines roared. Lira looked up, seeing a patrol ship's shadow grow. Sam frowned, pulling her into a rocky crevice. "They're still hunting," he signed, eyes worried. Lira held Tiny, heart heavy. They'd escaped the machine, but danger lingered. Sam checked his device, eyes tense. "Main base, 10 miles," he signed, pointing to the red horizon. Lira nodded, but her shoulder burned. She saw blood seeping from Sam's wounds. "You saved me," he said, a faint smile forming. "Now I owe you." Lira smiled, heart warming. They were a team in this deadly desert. But engines grew louder. Sam gripped her hand, eyes resolute. "Together," he signed, echoing her words. Lira nodded, clutching Tiny, ready to run. The cave's darkness was gone, but red veils still hunted. Red sand coated Sam's armor, red veils, blazing suns painting him in blood. Lira stood beside him, breath heavy, her blue skin dulled under dust. The old outpost had collapsed, burying the ancient machine and the patrol. But danger hadn't stopped. Survivors must have branded Sam a traitor. "We need the main base," Sam said, pointing to a map on his wrist device, voice low but firm. "Escaped ships are there." Lira nodded, clutching Tiny tighter. The small creature chirped, black eyes gleaming, sensing her fear. The sky darkened, wind howling a warning. A massive sandstorm loomed, 2 hours away. Sam handed Lira a thermal suit, its strange fabric fitting her slender frame. He checked his combat armor, eyes worried. Tiny was tucked in a secure pouch, clinging to Lyra's shoulder, chirping nervously. They stepped into the desert, sand swirling, visibility dropping to meters. Lira, born in cool Lyssaran, felt muscles ache, each step like wading through fire. She stumbled, sand slick underfoot. Sam grabbed her hand, pulling her over dunes. His grip was strong, warm through the glove. Lira felt a strange emotion, not just safety, but something deeper, stirring her heart. Wind screamed, sand clawing their faces. Lira ducked, shielding Tiny, struggling to follow Sam. He led, a steadfast shadow in the storm. But suddenly, he yanked her down behind a boulder. Lira held her breath, heart racing. Through the sand, a massive shape moved, not a monster, but an automated patrol drone, red searchlights sweeping. "They know I helped you," Sam whispered, brown eyes worried. Lira touched his hand, signing silence, gratitude mixed with fear. The drone hummed, its light grazing the boulder, then faded. They lay still, sand coating their faces, Tiny trembling in the pouch. The drone passed, but engines lingered. Sam pulled Lira up, eyes sharp. "Hurry," he signed, leading her over dunes. But an explosion rocked the ground behind. Lira turned, seeing light flash from a human patrol ship, growing through the sand. "They found our trail!" Sam yelled, dragging her toward a nearby canyon. Sand slid underfoot, Lira fell, but Sam caught her, his grip steady. They slid down a cliff, sand filling boots, hoods. Lira coughed, Tiny chirping pitifully. Sam pulled her into a small cave, his armor's light illuminating the cramped space. Lira collapsed on the stone, gasping. She checked Tiny, opening the pouch. The creature trembled, not from cold. A small wound, from the cave collapse, bled on its leg. "No," Lira whispered, eyes blurring with tears. Tiny chirped weakly, looking at her, pleading. Lira held it, heart breaking. She dragged Tiny into this hell. Sam knelt, eyes gentle but firm. "I'll save it," he said, pulling a medkit from his pack. Under dim light, he stitched the wound, hands trembling slightly under pressure. Lira watched, tears falling. His hands, rough from battle, were tender with Tiny, as they'd been with her. She touched his hand, signing thanks, voice choked. Sam smiled, but his eyes stayed worried. "It'll be okay," he signed, stroking Tiny's fur. But engines roared closer. Sam rushed to the cave's mouth, peering through the sand. "Patrol ship," he whispered, turning back. "They won't quit." Lira held Tiny, now sleeping in the pouch, heart heavy. Sam had forsaken everything, comrades, rules, for her. She looked at him, a new emotion rising. Not just gratitude, but a bond, an invisible thread between stranger hearts. "Sam," she whispered, voice trembling. He turned, their eyes meeting. In that moment, amid storm and danger, they understood each other. Sam checked the map. "Main base 8 miles," he signed, pointing to the black horizon. Lira nodded, standing despite aching limbs. She stroked Tiny's pouch, resolve hardening. They had to live, for Tiny, for each other. Sam handed her a ration bar. "Eat," he signed, eyes gentle. Lira nibbled, the strange taste fueling her. She shared a piece with Tiny, watching it wake, chirping happily. Sam smiled, a light in the dark. "You're strong," he signed, pointing to her. Lira smiled, heart warming. They were a team in this deadly desert. The storm eased, but engines grew louder. Sam pulled Lira from the cave, eyes sharp. "We go before they find us," he signed. They ran through the canyon, sand-coating armor and suit. Lira stumbled, but Sam gripped her hand, pulling her on. A light flashed behind, patrol ship, red beams sweeping. "They see us!" Sam yelled, diving into a narrow crevice. Lira followed, Tiny chirping in the pouch. The crevice opened to a wide desert, the main base faint on the horizon. But the ship landed, dust swirling. Sam turned, rifle ready. "You run," he signed, eyes resolute. Lira shook her head, grabbing his hand. "Together," she whispered, voice breaking. Sam nodded, a faint smile forming. They charged into the storm, the ship's shadow growing behind. The sandstorm raged outside the cave, a wounded beast, red sand battering the rock walls as if to swallow the world. In the cramped space, Lira and Sam sat close, their warmth mingling, banishing Red Veil's desert chill. Tiny lay between them, purple fur rising with steady breaths, its wound healed by Sam's steady hands. Lira stroked its fur, deep blue eyes shimmering, gratitude flooding her heart. They were alive, despite the storm, monsters, and pursuit. Sam sat across, his armor's light casting shadows on his face, highlighting deep brown eyes. Lira gazed at him, feeling an invisible thread, not just survival, but something profound. They shared a ration bar, the last scrap from Sam's pack. In a rare quiet moment, he knelt, drawing in the sand. Rough lines formed, crashing waves, dense trees, buildings aglow with lights. "Earth," he said, voice resonant, pointing to the sketch. "Blue oceans. Deep forests. Vibrant cities." Lira tilted her head, picturing an alien world, unlike Lyssaran but beautiful in its own way. "But humans fear," Sam continued, voice lowering, eyes distant. "Fear what they don't understand. Like you?" He pointed to her, a sad smile forming. Lira nodded, touching the sand, drawing glittering lakes and cloud-hung cities. "Lyssaran," she signed, voice trembling. "My people fear, too. Fear the strange." She looked at him, her heart opening, as if the red sand had swept away the wall between them. Sam smiled, eyes softening. "But we don't fear each other." His words, through gestures, touched her heart. Lira reached for his hand, blue fingers brushing his rough glove. "No fear," she whispered, eyes gleaming. The air shifted, intimate, the storm outside a mere whisper. Sam slowly raised his hand, fingers grazing her cheek, tracing the silver flecks on her skin, sparkling like stars. "Beautiful," he said, voice husky, raw with emotion. Lira leaned into his touch, feeling his warmth. In that moment, all barriers, species, language, cosmos, melted. They kissed, gentle as Lyssaran's breeze, then fierce as Red Veil's storm. His lips were warm, breaths mingling, a connection bridging the stars. Lira held him, heart pounding, finding light in the dark. Tiny chirped, nuzzling their legs, as if celebrating. Lira laughed, tears falling, not from sorrow, but fragile joy. Sam stroked her hair, eyes tender. "You're strong," he signed, pointing to her chest. Lira smiled, touching his chest. "So are you," she replied, voice trembling. They sat, hands clasped, Tiny curled between, a small family in the deadly desert. But joy shattered as Sam's wrist calm blinked. A cold voice crackled. "Reynolds, surrender now, or we'll obliterate this sector." Lira flinched, clutching Tiny. Sam checked the screen, eyes tense. "Main base," he whispered, pointing to the map. "They know we're close." Lira saw the weight he carried. He'd broken rules, saved her, and was now hunted as a traitor. She touched his hand, signing. "Why help me?" Sam met her gaze, eyes deep. "Because it's right," he signed, pointing to his chest. "Because you're worth it." Lyra's heart melted, tears falling. He wasn't just her savior, he saw her, not an alien, but Lira. "Together," she said, gripping his hand, voice firm. Sam nodded, eyes brightening. "Together," he signed, a faint but certain smile. They checked their gear, preparing to leave. The storm had eased, but engines hummed. Sam handed Lira a small energy pistol. "Careful," he signed, pointing to her. Lira nodded, hands trembling as she held the weapon. She wasn't a fighter, but for Sam, for Tiny, she'd try. Tiny chirped, lifting its head, lending strength. They stepped into the desert, red sand coating armor and suit. The sky was dark, but the main base's lights glimmered, a beacon. Sam led, eyes sharp, scanning. Lira followed, Tiny in its pouch, breath steady. But a light flashed behind, patrol ship, red beams sweeping. "They're too close," Sam whispered, pulling Lira into a crevice. Engines roared, dust swirling. Lira held Tiny, heart racing. Sam checked his rifle, eyes tense. "If they take me, you run," he signed, pointing to the base. Lira shook her head, grabbing his hand. "No leaving," she whispered, voice breaking. Sam looked at her, eyes softening. "Stubborn," he signed, a faint smile. The patrol ship landed, hundreds of meters away. Figures emerged, armor gleaming, rifles ready. Sam pulled Lira, running through dunes toward the base. Sand slid underfoot, Lira stumbled, but Sam steadied her, his grip firm. An explosion rocked the ground. Lira turned, seeing green energy bolts. "They're shooting!" Sam yelled, pushing her behind a boulder. He returned fire, a blue bolt tearing the sand. Lira gripped her pistol, hands shaking, but fired, grazing a soldier. Sam glanced at her, eyes wide. "Nice shot," he signed, a proud smile. The base loomed, its metal gate faint through the storm. But the patrol closed in, beams locking onto them. Lira clutched Tiny, heart pounding. Sam gripped her hand, eyes resolute. "We'll make it," he signed, voice certain. They charged through the sand, engines screaming behind. Lira felt Sam's warmth, Tiny's strength, and a burning hope. They weren't just fleeing, they ran for each other. The sandstorm faded, leaving red vales desert strewn with fresh dunes, red as blood under the twin suns. Lira trudged beside Sam, her slender frame aching, blue skin dulled by dust and exhaustion. Tiny, in its secure pouch, chirped weakly, black eyes gleaming at her. Just a few miles to the main base, but the sky blazed with lights from 3 patrol ships, closing in. "They won't stop," Sam said, checking his wrist map, voice low but sharp. "Escaped ships are in the base's hangar. If we reach them, we have a chance." Lira nodded, legs trembling, heart ablaze with trust in him. Sam gripped her hand, brown eyes steady. "Together," he signed, a faint smile. Lira smiled, heart stirring. They ran through the desert, sand clinging to boots, wind whistling. The main base emerged, a massive metal fortress, steel walls glinting amid red sand. But sweeping lights from automated patrol drones encircled it, like steel spiders hunting. They know we're coming, Sam whispered, pulling Lira behind a dune. Her heart raced. She pulled a glowing blue energy crystal from her pouch, salvaged from the ancient cave. Weapon, she said, signing an explosion, eyes bright. Sam grinned, mischief flashing. He grabbed a grenade from his pack, crafting a crude explosive, binding the crystal. You're brilliant, he signed, a proud smile. Lira flushed, stroking Tiny's pouch, resolve hardening. They slipped through the perimeter, finding a narrow, dark maintenance duct. Sam led, his armor's light cutting the gloom. Lira crawled behind, sand coating her thermal suit, Tiny chirping nervously. The duct trembled with drone hums outside, red beams grazing slits. Lira held her breath, clutching Tiny. Sam touched her hand, signing reassurance. They emerged into a dim hangar, packed with metal crates and machinery. An escaped ship stood in the corner, small but sleek, a final hope. Sam rushed to the console, typing fast. The engine hummed, lights flickering on. Lira stood beside, holding Tiny, heart pounding. But a cold, commanding voice blared through speakers. Reynolds, who is she? What tech does she carry? Lira flinched, recognizing Commander Vance, Sam's superior. Sam ignored it, focusing on the ship, hands trembling slightly. Lira touched his arm, signing. Hurry! But the hangar door screeched open. Vance stood, towering, holding a massive energy rifle, eyes icy. Beside him was a Lyssaran, Kale, Lira's old colleague, blue skin shimmering, but eyes cold as frost. Lira, Kale said in Lyssaran, voice dripping with contempt. You betrayed us, bringing Lyssaran's secrets to humans. Lira froze, heart stabbed. No! She screamed, voice breaking. I was stranded. My ship exploded. But Kale shook his head, eyes unmoved. You exposed crystal tech. Humans will weaponize it against us. He signaled Vance. Shoot her. Lira clutched Tiny, tears streaming. Sam stepped forward, rifle ready, shielding her. You're wrong, Commander, he said, voice steady. She's no enemy. She saved me, saved us all from the ancient machine. Vance smirked, raising his rifle. You're the traitor, Reynolds. Surrender or die. Lira trembled, but instinct surged. She grabbed the explosive from Sam, activating the crystal. Sam, back! She yelled, hurling it. The crystal flared, the blast shaking the hangar, smoke and dust swirling. Vance fell, Kale staggered, coughing. Sam yanked Lira onto the ship, Tiny leaping after, chirping in panic. The hatch slammed shut, Sam slamming the controls. The engine roared, the ship blasting through the hangar roof, soaring into the red sky. Lira collapsed into a seat, gasping, clutching Tiny. It nuzzled her, as if celebrating survival. But lights flashed behind. 2 patrol ships pursued, firing relentlessly. Sam swerved, dodging, green bolts tearing space. Hold on! He yelled, hands trembling on the controls. Lira held Tiny, looking at Sam, heart swelling. He'd chosen her, against everything. Sam! She whispered, touching his hand. He glanced back, brown eyes gentle. Together! He signed, a faint smile. Lira nodded, tears falling. She looked at Tiny, then the red sky, resolve firm. They weren't just fleeing, they fought for each other. The ship shuddered, alarms blaring. Systems failing! Sam yelled, pounding the console. A bolt hit the tail, smoke rising. Lira leapt forward, scanning the panel, Lyssaran knowledge surging. Reroute power! She signed, pointing to circuits. Sam nodded, following. The ship stabilized, accelerating, outpacing the patrols. But a voice crackled through the calm. Reynolds, she's not worth it! Vance, alive, voice venomous. Sam killed the calm, eyes sharp. She's worth it, he whispered, gripping Lira's hand. The red sky parted, stars glinting ahead. Lira looked at Sam, heart warm. They'd escaped, but the journey wasn't over. Tiny chirped, lifting its head, sensing hope. Lira smiled, stroking its fur. Together, she whispered, looking at Sam. He nodded, the ship soaring into the cosmos, leaving Red Veil behind, but carrying a bond eternal. The escaped ship shuddered violently, tearing through Red Veil's atmosphere, leaving the red desert planet behind. Lira sat beside Sam, deep blue eyes gazing through the viewport, where stars began to sparkle. Tiny curled in her lap, chirping softly, purple fur trembling with the engine's hum. Sam typed coordinates on the console, brown eyes focused. "Trading moon, neutral zone," he said, voice low. "We'll find a bigger ship there." Lira nodded, but her heart was heavy. She thought of Kale, once a friend, now accusing her of betraying Lyssaran. "Kale was wrong," she whispered, eyes blurring with tears. "I didn't betray." Sam stopped typing, grasping her hand, warmth piercing his glove. "I believe you," he said, eyes gentle but firm. Lira smiled, feeling their invisible bond, stronger than any storm. The quiet moment shattered as alarms wailed. The screen lit up, showing a human warship, larger, faster, closing in. "They won't quit," Sam said, gripping the controls. Lira looked at him, Lyssaran instincts rising. "Let me," she signed, leaping to the co-pilot's seat. Sam yielded, eyes wide. Lira seized the controls, Lyssaran piloting skills flowing through her fingers. She steered into a nearby asteroid field, massive rocks spinning in the dark. The ship rattled, grazing a boulder, debris striking the hull. Sam managed power, diverting to shields and weapons. "You're incredible," he said, a smile flashing amid the brink of death. Lira grinned, heart racing. "We're incredible," she signed, eyes blazing. The warship fired, green bolts tearing space. Lira banked, weaving through a narrow gap between asteroids. Tiny chirped, clinging to the seat, black eyes wide. "Hold on, Tiny!" Lira whispered, hands precise. Sam fired back, a shot hitting the enemy's secondary engine, slowing it. "Smart!" he yelled, eyes proud. Lira spotted a hollow asteroid, its core a cave-like void. "Hide!" she signed, diving in. Sam killed all systems, darkness enveloping them. They sat, hands clasped, Tiny curled between, breath soft. Through the viewport, the warship passed, red beams sweeping, then vanished. Lira exhaled, leaning into Sam, tears falling. "We did it," she whispered. He kissed her forehead, voice rough. "Together." The ship restarted, heading for the trading moon. Landing at a chaotic port, teeming with ships and beings from across the galaxy, Lira felt an alien but vibrant air. Sam led her through the crowd, Tiny on her shoulder, drawing curious glances. They found a calm station, and Lira froze as a message from her family played, sent via galactic relays. "Lira, we've searched everywhere." Her mother's voice choked. "Come home." Lira clutched Tiny, tears spilling. She never thought she'd hear her mother again. But another message chilled her. Kale, the betrayer, had allied with a human extremist faction, planning to weaponize Lyssaran crystal tech, sparking war between their species. Lira turned to Sam, eyes resolute. "We must warn my people," she said, voice trembling but firm. Sam nodded, gripping her hand. "And mine." Together. They bought a small freighter, using Sam's last credits. Old but sturdy, it could reach Lyssaran space. As they prepared, Lira looked at Sam, heart swelling. He hadn't just saved her from Red Veil, he'd given her a reason to live, to fight. "Sam," she whispered, touching his cheek. He smiled, pulling her close. "Lira," he replied, voice warm. They kissed, gentle yet fierce, Tiny chirping happily, as if cheering. The ship launched, jumping to hyperspace, stars stretching into streaks. Lira sat beside Sam, Tiny in her lap, gazing through the viewport. Red Veil, where she thought she'd die in a sandstorm, was now a memory. The journey began in despair, clutching Tiny, ready to surrender. But Sam appeared, pulling her from darkness, guiding her through monsters, patrols, and ancient machines. Now, they carried a mission to stop war, protecting Lyssaran and Earth. Lira thought of her mother, glittering lakes, and cloud cities. She'd return, not just for family, but to build a future where humans and Lyssarans feared no more. Sam touched her hand, eyes bright. "We'll do this," He signed, a confident smile. Lira nodded, stroking Tiny. Together, she whispered, voice full of promise. The ship surged through hyperspace, carrying a love beyond the stars, a strange little creature, and hope for a peaceful cosmos. Lira looked at Sam, heart light. From a deadly sandstorm, they'd found each other, and now they aimed for the light.